Hey everyone, welcome to EverydayFI, the show that explores the lives of everyday people on the path to financial independence, so you can use these stories to forge your own path to financial freedom. I'm Meghan Combs, your host, and I'm recording from my mom's cabin, so excuse the sound. I actually forgot to bring my microphone as I came up here. We're here for Memorial Day. But today's guest is Suzy Lewis, and I actually recorded with her at CampFI Spain. And so you'll see us, if you're watching on YouTube, talking together in my Airbnb, which is really fun. And I kind of made up the whole scenario with recording with my computer and these little mini mics. So the sound quality is probably not the best, but it's really great content. Suzy talks about living in Spain and how her family moved there and did long travel, and she talks about how to do that with 2 kids and balancing kind of work and retirement and taking time off work to travel. So it's a really, really great conversation and you should really enjoy it. So tune in after we hear from our sponsors. Hey everyone, so I, as you can see, am in person and I'm with Suzy, and we are in Spain right now at CampFI, and so I wanted to record. I definitely just made this up on my computer on how to record this, and I'm using these little tiny mics, so anybody who's watching on YouTube can see us. You can, of course, listen on any podcast player, but if you want to check us out on YouTube, you can see our faces and you can see the conversation. So yeah, everybody, this is Suzy. Hi, Suzy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is really fun to be able to meet up in Spain. And this is my first CampFI, so I'm really happy to be here, meet a lot of cool people, and I'm starting to lose my voice a little, but I'm just excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And also, if the mic dies before we're done, I apologize. The sound might get bad at the end, but if that does happen, I'll just be like, well, that's it for today. So thanks for tuning in. So yeah. So first CampFI in Spain. I think that's amazing because there's so many CampFIs that are like in the United States. So it's crazy that this is the first one that you're going to. What do you think of it?
Oh, it's been awesome. This is the last full day. I've been here since Monday, but it started on Tuesday. I've met almost 70 other people, tons of great conversations, tears, stories, just great talks, great workshops. Like my mind is buzzing with ideas and excitement, people I plan to connect with after this. So it's been a really, really great experience. I don't want it to end, actually, even though it's just been amazing.
Yeah, I love CampFI for that exact reason, because you lose your voice because you're talking, and then there's a huge group of people, so then you just like all talk over each other, and then it's just, you just learn so much and you get to meet so many different people, and it's, yeah, I love it. I can't wait. We're in week 2, which starts on Sunday. Today is, what is today?
Friday.
Yeah, I don't know what day it is. Yeah, because we flew in yesterday and had to run to catch our flight, so we're a little bit jet lagged. But yeah, so, and you live in Sevilla, right? Which is in Spain?
Yes. Sevilla was like hour and a half flight from here in southern Spain. We did a full school year there, the 23-24 school year in Sevilla. And then we really enjoy being here. It was a great experience. So we had to go back to the US for the fall, and we came back this January till June. So when I saw CampFI was here in Santiago, I've been wanting to get to the north of Spain for a long time because it is just beautiful. And from what I've heard, and so it was like the perfect combination of being able to come up here, get a little more into the FI world of things. I've been wanting to go. I live otherwise in Denver, Colorado, and there's a lot of CampFIs over the summer, but summers we're actually just really busy. We've been traveling, or like you said, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. So, last many years I've been busy, and we're often not even in Colorado in July. So I will make it a priority some year after this because of how much I've enjoyed this one. There's rumblings of Italy, someone mentioned. And so it sounds like you have a destination and are willing to help in many ways, kind of get that ball rolling. You can just, and again, a lot of FI stuff is very community driven. So if someone in the community is interested in a location and can help out, I think it could really be great things can come out of that. This one really came out of Darren and Jolene. I know they were on your podcast, and I've met them in Sevilla right before they started their trek up here. And then to see them here this week was just really cool to hear about that. And I guess I say trek, I meant walk or hike, the pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Yes. And they are like experts, have done it many times, have shared a lot of great information about it. So it's just been awesome to meet people here that have just done some really, really cool things.
Yeah. And I just had them on like a few months ago, and then their episode came out this past Monday, but they have another one coming out on Monday that's actually more about the hiking.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of like, I wish I could have switched them, but it would have been a little weird because the
backstory leads up to.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, they talk a lot about all the hiking that they've done. And it's the kind of hiking that's way more accessible than just backpacking, I think.
Absolutely.
Because for me, I'm not really into sleeping on the ground and like digging a hole for my bathroom. That's just not who I am as a person. So, but they were like, no, we hike from town to town. And there's also little towns in between your hikes and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I think I could do that. So it's something that, maybe one day we'll do it. I've heard a lot of retirees do this, like normal retirees, or I say normal, average retirees, like 5 people are not normal. Yeah, typical. There we go. Yes. Yeah, because it's like 60s and 70-year-olds who are on these trails and stuff, which is crazy. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I have the kind of stamina to walk like 10 to 12 miles a day, but that's just me.
I've heard some people do a really good job of picking the distance that works well for them. So some of those individuals might not be doing 12 a day because it seems like there's a lot of stops and a lot of support and some comfortable places to sleep, which helps. So yeah, I've been impressed with some of the people I've seen walking around town and like the ages. And it seems like it really does draw a crowd of so many different backgrounds, whether that is spiritually driven or just you want to go on an adventure, or the history and the culture of Spain, or a lot of big groups, a lot of people in t-shirts. And it gets really crowded around Santiago, and it's like official if you do 100 kilometers at least. But I imagine that there's so many different paths here that you could pick a further out chunk distance and just have a little more of a different experience. But there's people are like happy to talk to you on the trail, and it just seems really cool. So it's been great to hear other people's stories that have done some of that. Some people did it on the way here. You might meet some people I think are doing it this week that will be here next week with you. Yeah, maybe some. So lots of great stories.
Yeah, I can't wait. Cool. So let's get to know you. That's why we're here. So so usually what I do, I don't have my template in front of me that I normally have, so I'm going to be just asking you ad hoc questions. But tell me a little bit about you now.
Sounds good. Yes, we live partly in Denver, Colorado. My husband Mark is German, U.S. dual passport, so that makes the EU part a little easier for us. And my kids are 5 and 7. And when I work in the U.S. as a nurse, a health educator, I'm still in the Air Force Reserves for a little bit longer. So I've worn a lot of hats over the last many years. And he works in tech stuff remotely. So that combination has allowed us, we knew early on that we wanted to do a year abroad or something. And so we've been working towards it for a few years and setting up the systems to rent our house out and things back in Denver. And then we landed in Sevilla the 23-24 school year. We had so much fun. We said, let's go back and take care of some things and come back this January to June. And I just went to my employer last November who let me take off that whole school year. And I work intermittent as a health educator. I fill in when that's needed. I've been with him almost 10 years. So when I said, can I take another 6 months off? They're like, great, we'll see you next summer. Let us know how we can, and so it's great to be in a position where I don't need that, but it's a great way to continue my professional interests while combining it with some cool experiences for our family that we've decided is really important at this age and stage of my kids' life, because things change quickly with them, and we're just taking advantage of this time together while we have it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So do they know Spanish if they're in the school year here?
Yeah, so they go to a German school there, which they've been picking up for my husband since birth when he speaks that to them. And then but most of the students are Spanish. So my son started first grade there. He's so zero Spanish. And the first day I was like, what did we do? I just dropped him off at school where he doesn't speak the language of 98% of the other students. But kids are amazing and resilient, and we were doing some online lessons, and he picked up really quickly. There's this whole gradient of fluency, so I don't really get too much into that. I just know his teachers say he's learning well, and his classes are in Spanish, and he's I hear him with his friends, and I'm like just amazed at the progress he's made. And then my 5-year-old, it's the kindergarten, infantile, preschool is actually mostly German because they're trying to get a lot of the Spanish-speaking students as much German exposure before they start in the school, like first grade and beyond in German. So he actually has not picked up as much Spanish, but then the kids talk to him in Spanish. So, but he's 5, he's rolling with it pretty well. And I've been taking Spanish classes and making some progress. So it's been, I mean, that was one of the main goals with Spain was the Spanish component. I just think that's going to be great to carry them into, the rest of their life with hopefully a pretty good foundation of multilingualism.
Yeah.
And then we chose Europe in general, just because obviously Europe is great. And we've spent time here before. My husband grew up in Germany, has family still there. But living here was actually quite easy when he has an EU passport. It was pretty easy for me to get the spouse visa. So I guess, it's just been a really great combination of things to give us a chance to spend time doing things where, like, my son just had a running race at school today. And the photos, I'm like, this is so cool. He's getting to do great things. They're at a birthday party tonight, and I'll, fly back, and we have a bunch of things planned this weekend with there's English speaking groups, but we hang out with the students from school, and it's just been really awesome experience.
Yeah, that sounds really great for your kids. And I'm jealous because I know 0 other languages. I sort of know a little bit of French, but it's not passable. Not really. So your kids are really lucky that they get to learn English, German, and Spanish. Very different languages, by the way, too. So I feel like that's only going to improve the way that they learn languages. So I wonder if they'll be able to pick up even more.
Oh, I think it's a great skill that it's one of those things as a parent, you try not to only do things with your children that you like wish you had done, but this is the one I'm like, I think it's okay that I say I wish I had learned a language or more when I was young, and I'm gonna make sure my kids have that opportunity at least. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So okay, so talk about when you were a kid. We haven't talked much about money. I mean, obviously we're in CampFI, and you talked about a little bit what you do and what your husband does and traveling and stuff, but I want to know a little bit about your money background, because I feel like that kind of gives us clues to, how we think about money as adults, right? So what's one of your earliest money memories?
My parents are pretty frugal. They grew up in large families. They chose careers that they were passionate about, being librarians, but they don't make much, they're not like high wage in career fields necessarily. But I always felt, taken care of and supported, and that they prioritize experiences that were really cool. One of them was we went to Europe for a month after my 8th grade year. And that was a big expense and a big time off to arrange. They made it work we did a lot of homestays through this organization called Servas, which does still exist. So really it's a way we were welcomed into these families' house, and you stay 2 nights at a time unless they invite you to stay longer. So you don't overwhelm them, but also you get to spend enough time that it's a cultural exchange. And so that's how we talk nowadays about trusted house sitters or home exchange. This was a way to really reduce the cost of a month in Europe. And so that's always stuck in my head as a way to find ways to do what you're passionate about or what you're interested in that fit within the budget that works for you. And then the other memory that really resonates was after that, I was in high school on the swim team, really wanted to do a trip to Australia and New Zealand for the swim trip. And wasn't I was an amazing athlete and got selected. It was I just wanted to go, and you got to pay your spot. And it was a big flight and expense from the US. And my parents said, well, if you can earn your half of it, we'll help, we'll match that. And so I was working my tail off as a swim instructor, private swim lessons, a lifeguard. It just became something that I had this goal that I could work towards. And I remember that trip very well. So, and then I asked them about this recently, any other early memories. And they do remember me counting coins and being trying to hoard them. And not stealing from my brother, but kind of, I think, finding, he's my 2 years younger brother, finding ways to, do you really need that? Or, I would sell him things that were crap for his money. So I do think I've been a little bit of a saver at heart for a long time, which was great with kind of starting a FI journey. And then also when I became more, oh, this is what we're actually doing, saving and saving, but we've switched to like more of a CampFI where it's like we're prioritizing now and just hoping things continue to trug along in the background and letting like my husband's work cover all our expenses. And I've definitely cut back a lot in the last few years. So it's been an adjustment to not like save and invest as much. But I would say this year I'm settling into it. I'm very much enjoying the travel opportunities and things we're doing and experiences and I keep an eye on things, but it's been nice to transition to that too. And maybe someday we'll save and invest more again, but I found like there's seasons of life and this is just the one that we're in to take advantage of the work we've put in before and of where we're at with our kids and our family, and we'll readjust as needed.
Yeah, for sure. And so what made you want to do this season of life? Like, meaning, I guess, you were saving, and then you're like, what, let's kind of roll back on that and do some of these things. Was there a catalyst to doing that? Or, did you already have this plan? How did that conversation go with you and your husband? Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's been helpful that we have quite a few family members that have kids a little bit older, and I didn't really know a ton of other families with different age kids. But I also work in a high school and a middle school. And so I've kind of, when I see kids that are like 12 and up, they are just changing so quickly. I see that many of them are really involved in like school and activities and their friends. And so I was thinking, like, in the scheme of 0 to 18 with your kids, like there's really, they say the days are long and the years are short. And I've felt that, like, where every day you're like, wow, we did everything today and I'm so exhausted. And then you're like, how are they 5 and almost 8? And I see these changes every year. So we just knew that there are truly like seasons of development with especially kids that you don't get to reverse that. You can't, and not saying that our kids hopefully won't want to spend time with us when they're 16, but I know it will be very different than a 5 and a 7-year-old who like are happy hanging out with us. And so that ability to step back and know, like, eventually we will have more time to ourselves. Eventually I can pursue other things, and just rolling with it has been really helpful. And it helps 2 kids close in age, so they're kind of both in some of the same stages. So we can really like take advantage of that at the same time and know that, again, the ability to uproot them sort of and take them halfway around the world may not last forever. Maybe it will. Maybe they'll have the travel bug and be more open-minded to that a lot later. But I just didn't want to miss that opportunity. And we knew this even before kids, and then COVID delayed it a little bit and stuff. So I think that helped to think ahead, being a planner and knowing like, this is the phase of life, we'll focus on this, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah, it's something that I think a lot of people think about doing, and then they keep thinking about doing it and thinking about doing it, and then it gets past the point where they can do it. Because like you said, I mean, teenagers or preteens are very focused on their little world, and it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, they're developmentally appropriate to start to separate from the family unit.
Exactly. And that's what they're learning. And so if you uproot them during that time of life, I feel like it's probably not as beneficial than doing it when they're younger and getting them that exposure and creating that resilience when they're young. And I'm just thinking for myself, I moved around a lot as a kid, and I'm happy that happened to me now as an adult, but as a kid, I was not really happy about it. When I was younger, it wasn't so bad, but during the middle school and high school times, it was hard because always being the new kid is really difficult, especially if you're a little weird, which I was. So I didn't roll in and was like the cool new kid. I was like the weird new kid. So yeah, there's a lot of bullying that happened. And so I love that you're doing that now and you guys thought through that. Would you say that finding FI helped you figure this out? Or yeah, that's a great thought. So I've always been, my dad thankfully was like in my 20s, like, time to invest in your Roth IRA. I was like, okay, here's some money. I didn't really know what I was doing, but like I really appreciated some of that like guidance, and I've thought about how to make sure to continue that guidance with my kids. So we were like on the track, and like my husband switched from like marketing to tech, and so he was able to
kind of start increasing his income pretty easily. Like in 2015 or so, we had taken a couple month gap year and traveled after I did a grad program. And that was so important to me to have that time together. But then we kind of like got jobs, bought a townhome. That accelerated some of our financial learning, like homeownership does, and managing it and maintaining it. And then when we had a kid, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of financial things in here. And so made the mistake of getting a financial advisor and doing the whole life insurance. We call it our super tax. And then I found resources. Colorado is like home to a lot of financial bloggers who really have a lot of similar messages around low cost index funds and tax, just all the things that like truly made it seem that I'm like, I can totally understand this. I can come up with a plan that works for us. And so that was like about 2018 to like the pandemic, just like learning a lot, focusing on it, ramping up our savings. I had access to a 457, a thrift savings plan, and then my husband's work at that time, and just learning all the intricacies of it all really helped. And then in 2020, I didn't work as much after the second kid, partly because of COVID and working in a school that was closed. But I realized I missed work, and it was great to go back when I could. And I worked pretty hard because we knew that we were able to save a lot. We weren't spending as much with 2 young kids. We were just like, and COVID hunkered down and took advantage of all that. And then in 2022, we did a summer to Canada to get the home set up to rent out while we're gone, road trip. Thankfully we're able to bring all this stuff with us because it was in our car, and it just opened the door to, this is fun. Like we can, my husband worked a little bit of it remotely, and I was with the kids, and I wouldn't say it's always perfect to spend so much time together, but we had a great time, and that just kind of said we can do a longer time away. And so that set up for the next year we went there. And I will say, there's a lot of ways to travel with your children, and there's a lot of ways to maybe even move abroad. And even though this age and stage worked well for us, everyone's different, every family unit. But I think what's been great is we're actually only like between 2 locations. So in January, when they came back to the school here, we're like, we get to see all your same friends again. And it was like such a smooth transition back. And then in Denver, it's the house that they know and the school that they've spent some time with already. And so it's like, I've just expanded their number of home places they feel is home instead of like as much hopping around. Someday I'd love to do like gap year where we travel a little faster and fit in some cool opportunities, but we're going to wait till they can carry their own suitcase and have a little more interest maybe in the planning. Because I've also found like kids don't really care where you are. And so they know Spain, and we've really made it like a second home, but I don't need to hop all around the world with kids that are like not that interested really. So that's just how we've landed. And I've hosted some pop-ups and met some traveling families. So I've seen different iterations of family travel, and I just think all of it's very interesting. Everyone's chosen their path for some reason, and I just love to hear those stories. So it's been fun to help people as they're like, how can I do this as well? And what does this look like? And especially here, a lot of people were like hoping to do some like longer term family travel, and it's fun to hear their thought pattern. So I could talk all day long if anyone's, hey, let's chat about this. So, but that's how we landed on kind of this whole current routine.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever thought about one-on-one coaching people how to do this? Like having some sort of, I don't know, business around it, or even like writing a blog or anything like that?
Yes, like for 3 years now. Okay. Not much has come of it because I'm having a lot of fun. But I would like to develop that in some capacity, where I do have an Instagram where I've talked a little bit about some family money stuff, but I really want to like niche down to like people that want to plan a gap year or even extended travel or moving abroad, and not as much the logistics of your visa and this is all this, but more just like, how do I financially prepare for that? Because I think it's fascinating how I've seen in groups and different things, I could tell people just got the bug and they're like, I got a little bit of cash, I'll figure it out on the road. And then other people are like, save, plan. And then finally, go and do it. So people come at it from all different perspectives. And I think there's no one right or wrong way, but that's where the one-on-one could be helpful, is because it's like, I need to learn more about your perspective and your way of thinking and your money story and what would help you feel good about this experience. because telling someone that's like a little anxious about finances to just go probably doesn't help.
Yeah.
But, maybe someone that is ready to just hit the road with $2 in their pocket, maybe let's build up a little bit of a cushion so that you're not like 2 months in and darn it, I gotta go home. I think it could be really fun to get to know people's perspective. So maybe someday.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I'm just thinking that exactly what you just said. Everybody's experiences are different. And so it's hard to give advice where it's just, I'm going to write this one blog post or this one like thing, and it's supposed to be general for everybody. But that's just not how life works. Like even when it comes to traveling, people approach it so differently, and then their life circumstances are different. And so, if you're traveling with, say, like a 1-year-old versus a 15-year-old versus you have 5 kids versus you have 1 kid versus whatever, you're alone or you're in a couple, it's going to be so different. And and then for myself, the $2 in the pocket, I was like, oh my God, no, I could not do that. Because then what if you have to go home and you don't want to go home because you don't have any money? I guess some people could just vagabond it and sleep on a park bench or something. So I love that. I hope you get that up off the ground.
And thank you.
If you have any sort of like maybe your Instagram, or if you have any sort of resources, I can link them in the show notes for people too, if they want to reach out to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. So how did you come to find the FI movement? Was it you and your husband together? Was it your husband first, then you? What's that story?
In 2018, I posted on Nextdoor for a financial advisor, which led to the sitting in his house, buying a whole life insurance and thinking, I don't like when people try to sell me something. So I did have my ears up, and again, it was a pretty minor stupid tax in the scheme of things, but it really made me think I can figure this out. I can take the time and figure all this out. And of course, some of that had come over the years. Like my dad had tried to tell me stuff, but somehow, it doesn't really settle until you're receptive to it. So I keep that in mind too. But thankfully, lots of great blogs, podcasts, books. Love a lot of FI podcasts still, even if it's not always like new or interesting. Again, like you said, it's just so individual that even if someone's story does not relate to me at all, I feel like I get something out of it. And it's the accumulation of different stories and how if they all come back to kind of the same tenets of live below your means, invest the difference, increase your income, all these different things. It's like there's obviously truth to this. If a lot of people are talking about it, living it, experiencing it, coming up with some really cool experiences and ways of designing life that really fits with what their desires are, and not just around the standard, I need to have the best and biggest of all this stuff. It's no, I can cut out the things that are not important to me and spend a lot on things that are. So it's great to hear what that's like for different people. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say the way you grew up with money, because it sounded like your parents were very open to it and, taught you some really great lessons. Would you say that kind of set you up for success to receive the FI movement specifically? Is that what kind of drew you to it, do you think?
Yes, I think that was super helpful. And I think about that a lot with my children, is just like setting a solid foundation. They did an awesome job of helping me get a lot of scholarships for school. I went to undergrad, like getting paid to go to school almost between some of the different things, in the sense that then their gift was like the car I had for the next 12 years, the Honda Civic that lasted forever and ever, hybrid. And that was like their way of saying, well, thanks for we didn't have to help you with college at all, so here's a car. And that was obviously a gift to be able to go into adulthood with no debt. And then I have definitely seen the frugality, and I do think that now that they're very much retired, they're just now starting to be able to spend more. And they still say things like, oh, we didn't get here by spending a lot. I was like, but you're here now. Like, you guys are in your 70s. You need to start enjoying life. Yeah. And I've talked to them about the die with zero concept. You need to spend your money and do what's enjoyable for you. So I guess that perspective has also helped. It's let's save, get to a good spot, but also there is a time and a place for spending in ways that bring you joy, and not just waiting till that who knows when down the line. Working as an oncology nurse in my 20s, I definitely saw a lot of loss of life and livelihood in people that were young and healthy. And so just made me always think that tomorrow's never a given. So that's a constant balancing act of planning for tomorrow, being that planner that's like somewhat comes natural, but then also like today is really important too. And what season are we in, and how can we like turn up our savings dial or turn up our experiences dial and really take advantage of where we're at, and then just check in to know when we need to shift on those different things.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And I feel like there's people who think that YOLO and then, the miserliness can't go hand in hand. And I feel like there's always a balance to that.
Mm-hmm.
You can strike a balance between the two, because you can, you only live once. Yeah, that's actually very true. But you can save and spend at the same time. I don't understand why people think it's a dichotomy. And I'm like, it's really not. Like, you just have to know what matters to you. And I think that's the hard part, is because I think sometimes it's hard to, identify the signals you're getting from either, is it from here or is it from here? Is it the Joneses, or is it really what's in my heart, that I want, and so I feel if your heart is telling you you want a Tesla, maybe that's not really your heart saying that. Maybe that's the Joneses saying that you want a Tesla or something. No, smack on anybody who wants to buy an expensive vehicle, but is that really what you want to spend your money on? And then I personally find it a little bit hard to identify that sometimes, because there's so much noise. And it's just hard to cut through that noise. And I think that is really the conversation that needs to be happening. Not like, how much do I save? How much do I spend? It really depends on, what is truly important to you. And I feel like you've got that figured out, which is super awesome. So I'm glad you're on here, showing us that it can be done.
It's definitely a work in progress, like thinking what's 2025. And we started tracking net worth almost like 10 years ago. So, it's been a journey tracking spending. I've tracked almost every dollar since September 2018. I went back on my spreadsheet, and it's really at this point just for knowledge. Like, I've really been able to stop with some of the like anxiety around it and be like, knowledge is power. I'm going to use this information to make informed decisions and not to live in a stressful state or like nitpick. I will say the other thing that's taken a while to adjust to, though, is just as a family, or 4 humans that have very different opinions sometimes, and different backgrounds, and I want this and that and that. And so it's not as simple as, I feel like if it's like just me and my finances, it would be like cut and dry, like it's just me. But it's like, how do I, create a harmonious relationship with shared goals with my partner who came from very different money story background, and finding the joy in the differences, and not just like sometimes the headbutting a little bit around, what are we doing with this? Or why did you spend $10? We've had conversations like that, and I've stopped. And then also like kids that are starting to have their own opinions about what they want. We went to Morocco on their spring break a week and a half ago. And at the beginning of the trip, I said, you guys each have 30 euros. And if that's, trinkets or whatever, like this is what you can spend it on. And we always talk about 4 things you can do with money. You can save for like a slightly bigger thing you want to spend money on. You can invest, and they have investment accounts, and we bring it up here and there. And then also you can give in charity and kind of accumulating that for things that they care about. And then, or you can spend in this moment, you can spend your money. And so I like to have those conversations. What I did wrong though was that I forgot they don't love taking photos. So sometimes I'd be like, please, we're in this cool location, let me take a photo, I'll give you €1. And I was like, I should have started with less so they could have earned more, and then got to the 30 euros, because I was like, this adds up by the time I'm also adding on top of it. But I love those opportunities for money lessons, so that hopefully I would envision that they could have a little more balance between, I'm going to prepare for the future, and also, spend and enjoy today on, not just the experiences or things that bring me joy, but just like being able to live a quality life and enjoy the house that we spend a lot of money on, or the activities, or even the food we eat that nourishes us, that, you know, costs, it all costs money. So it's a work in progress is what I'm saying. I don't know if anyone has it all figured out, but we can all learn from each other. And with a lot of like introspection, we can really get to a good place. And I think knowledge is power. With, okay, I've met a lot of great people, a lot of great voices, I've read a lot of great books, like I've accumulated this ethos around money that works well for us. And then we check in regularly and make sure it's all working for everyone, and talk if it's not, and hopefully work through things so that we can keep striving towards like the big goals, the fun visions that we get to have for our family.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's like I said, I feel like everybody can learn from this, and it's probably where we all want to be. And I will say that I agree, when it's, you know, you join a family unit, it's very different from your own finances by yourself. I saw that when Chris and I got married, because we just automatically combined everything. And by combined, I just mean that, you know, I think there was just one aspect of our life, the real estate that we owned, which is just homes that we lived in. It's not investment real estate. We decided to keep that separate until we sold it. And then when we sell it, we're going to use it to buy a house together. We just saw that as more equitable. It was actually something that he pushed too, because I didn't really care. I was like, I don't care if you own part of my home, and I don't care. And he was like, no, I feel like your home is worth more than mine, and I just don't want that to be, you know. And so that was on him to push for that. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Let's, you know, but it was just interesting to see how different we handle and view money, because I have a lot going into investments. I've said this before on the podcast. I'm super bad at having cash. Like, I don't know if not liking it is the right term, but like I see cash as something to spend. And I've always been like that. Like, it's not something to just sit on. Whereas investments, I'm like, don't touch that.
Yeah. We're like, we know what to do with these, but yeah, cash is more liquid. It's more easily accessible.
Moves in and out really easily. Yeah. And so I'm noticing like our emergency fund is up to 30,000, which is great. We're trying to get to 50. But like the biggest chunk of it is from his accounts. I think 1/3 is from me and 2/3 are from him. And I'm like, oh man, that feels so inequitable. But then I'm like, no, because I'm investing more. So, and because it's all ours, it's this mindset shift where I have to go from, okay, it's not his, it's not mine, it's ours. Like, and I know that a lot of people have the like theirs, his, hers, or whatever, like his, hers. But I don't even see it that way. I'm like, it's all ours. And so, because even the houses will eventually be all ours. And I'm like, we're a unit, we're a team. And I can't imagine kids coming into the picture. We'll have to, but that'll just be one more thing that we learn. So that was a lot of words to say all of that. But
no, that was great. I love to hear people's evolution with that as a couple, because it doesn't happen overnight to get to that point, right? And I'm assuming, was there any like rocky conversations, or did it like just come with time and experience together?
Yeah, so we've been together 4 years on April 30th. So thank you. And we got married in February, and just this last February. Yeah. So
cool.
This is actually technically this trip. So because the first few days are before CampFI, this is technically our honeymoon, because we didn't really plan to have a honeymoon. And I was like, well, we're going to Spain and we're not going to be at CampFI for the first few days. So why don't we just make that our honeymoon? So this is our honeymoon.
I love that. That's great.
And no, I would not say that the money stuff is really that challenging. I think sometimes the way that we approach it is a little bit differently. And there are sometimes things where I'm like, I really don't understand why. So the house thing, for example, I still don't really understand his perspective on that, but it seemed like something that was very important to him. And it wasn't that important to me. So I was okay with doing this for him. And when I say I don't understand, I just mean I understand what he's saying, but I don't agree, if that makes sense. Like, I just agreed to disagree and just let him have this, because it didn't really matter to me. But I think I wouldn't even say it's challenging. The only conversations that we have that are a little bit like, let's talk about this is how much we're spending and when we need to talk to each other about how much is being spent. Because sometimes people are like, I want to know every single dollar that's coming out of my accounts and like why you're spending that. We're not like that. I think ours is, if it's over a few $100, let's talk about it and talk about why. But it's also, I don't know, that feels very nickel and dimey. And I trust him. I trust his spending patterns. He's obviously a better saver than me when it comes to cash. So I trust that. And then with investments, he trusts me. So there's a lot of trust that goes with it. So, and I think part of that was during our relationship, I needed that out of somebody. And so I feel like if I didn't have that, I'm not sure we would be together. And if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's the evolution as a couple. For us, it was like, obviously when dating, it was like started out very separate. We definitely had some conversations, but we we're all pretty like similar income and all that. And then when we got married, we did talk more about it. And really, that's when I started tracking some things. And then, but we were still like half and half just because it made sense. And then eventually like the joint account came in. And then I would say like with children, especially, it became like a one pot thing. And so that took a couple years. And so if a couple is like not ready to go all in and joint, I think that's okay. It's good to just talk about it together and be on the same page and like where each is coming from. Because like, again, we definitely bring to our relationships our money origin story and past experiences and what money was like in our family. And my husband had a very different childhood in many ways in Germany, divorced parents, the youngest of three. I was the oldest. And so it took a lot of great conversations around that to understand where we're coming from. And just to know that like it evolves, and so even though we've been married almost 10 years, it's like now it's all joint, and he's, even though this year I've made very little money so far this year, like almost none. And I've spent a lot because that's life. He talks about like, there's more than just a financial value that people bring to a relationship and to a family unit. And so it's not just like the money we're bringing to the table. It's like, how are we helping manage even trip planning or getting us out the door, or like all the emotional labor that comes with just keeping the house running, even with or without children. There's a lot that people can contribute, and so money is just a small piece of that. Just like on the FI journey, the saving and investing piece, once you kind of feel like you got it down, you realize actually how small that part is of the journey, and that the rest is what type of lifestyle do I want to live, or what type of community do I want to surround myself with, and where do I want to take my personal journey, my experiences, and then our family as a group. It's just, there's a lot more to it than just the numbers at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. It's really not about the numbers. That's like a teeny tiny part of it. So the numbers are just the tool to make everything else happen.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That is not original to me. I did not original. That's not for me. I will not take credit for saying that. So cool. So one thing I like to ask is about like your wins and your struggles right now during your life. So, and I know you have some notes, so feel free to look at these if you want, but yeah, what are some like challenges you're going through at this moment in time?
Yes, I was thinking, and I appreciate some chance to think ahead on some of those things, because sometimes when you're in the, like just the thick of loving and living life, like you don't always.
I don't have any challenges. What do you mean?
Yeah, I would say staying present and focusing on priorities. I definitely have a little bit of like shiny object syndrome, where I'm like, that's cool, I want to work on that. And I really think a lot about comparison is the thief of joy. And I tell myself that often if I'm following someone or talking with someone that I'm like, oh man, we should be doing that too. And if I'm thinking of it from a place of like inspiration, I'm like, okay, let's include this in our life planning. But if it's coming from a place of, oh man, any negativity I'm sensing, I'm like, nope. Thief of joy. I'm going to focus on what we can control, what we can focus on. And so that's a challenge when you're surrounded by awesome people doing awesome things, and just knowing I can't do all of that, and that's okay. And then also trying to come up with goals around, I'd love to help other families, but I'm like, how does this actually work to make a website and different things? So I get really excited, and I have lots of different ideas. I've made business idea lists, 30 ideas long, and not follow through with a ton of it. So, but you live and you learn. A lot of this CampFI we talked about was like mini experiments and like mini steps on their way to the goal. And I'm one of those people I'm going to do this huge goal. And I like just need to break it up into littler things. So that's been a really fun part about this journey, is kind of crystallizing some of those thoughts around that. And then, so I guess, that's more the challenges. Yeah.
So that's so funny that you say that, because I think about comparison as a thief of joy too, but I'm really bad at comparing myself to who I used to be. And it's mainly like health and body image stuff. So for me, I like look back and I'm like, man, when I was 25, I was hot and I wish I looked like that now. And that's what I need to stop doing, is comparing myself to who I used to be. Or when I was younger, I was like, man, I used to be able to only sleep 5 hours and go to class at 8 a.m. and then work till 10. What's happening? What happened? Or, my mind used to be so much clearer and now it just feels very foggy. And there's all of these things that I'm like, I need to cut that crap out, because this is who you are today and it's fine. And it's funny that you said, I want to do all these things. But then if there's any negativity around it, then I'm not going to do it. It's very similar to, is this something that's coming from here? Or is it something coming from here? Am I saying I should be doing this, or do I actually want to do this? So it's really cool that you're in tune with those signals.
Yeah. And I do that too with the body image stuff. And it's like,
a lot of women do it.
Yes. And I know that at 25, I was not thinking like, wow, like
I wish I looked like I was 18.
Yeah. So it's like, that helps me be like, okay, I'm appreciating 25, and I guarantee future me will look back at 42. And, like you were rocking back then. So I'm like, okay, there's definitely wisdom that comes with age and knowing that, oh wait, this stuff doesn't last forever. And so just appreciate what we have, and saying that also, my husband's, I don't know, if somebody doesn't make you happy, fix it. He's always been like, you're great, but if you want.
Thanks, husband. That's so helpful. No.
But it's kind of like nice to know that it's like, there's just no shame around if something really didn't matter to me that could be fixed in one way or another or whatever, or then it's okay to pursue things that give you joy, whatever that looks like, even if it like goes against the recommendations of, what society or whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And cool. Like the other one I was going to say, for like families that want to travel, I was thinking just do it, but know that you can start small. People can start small with like local adventures and work their way up, and maybe really thinking of things that are meaningful to them. If there's like a family history and going somewhere where they could get to know some of their family history a little more, I think that's really special. And then that there's a growing world of groups and meetups and world school pop-up hubs and different things where you can like kind of just jump in with other families doing lots of different things. And that's just so great to have like other parents to chat to. Kids get to it's amazing how quick they can just grab a soccer ball and be playing with people they met 5 minutes ago. But they wouldn't necessarily do that if we just showed up at the park. But because there's like a little bit of structure around it, it gives them like permission to go get to know these people and build up their confidence and different ages and realize other kids are doing some of this too, different things. So that's been fun to really tap into different community around that. But then they just get started if that's a goal that you have for your family.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah. So was that one of your wins, or did you have a win that you wanted to share too?
Yes, kind of the exploring like non-traditional ways to travel. We've done some trusted house sitters, which is a little harder as a family, but also a really cool way to stay in some cool places and give the kids, like, we grew up with pets. I do love pets. It just doesn't fit with our lifestyle right now, but I'm like, let's hang out with some pets for a while. We have one planned this August near other family. So it's like, instead of us trying to drive all the way up there, hectic day, and then just drive home, it's like, we're actually going to stay near them for 5 days, get to spend time with them, explore a new city. And it's an hour away from Denver. So it's not like something we'd stay in a hotel for or something, but it's just, I'm looking forward to those like kind of non-traditional. We also just had hosted a home exchange at the house we're renting in Sevilla, got the points, and then we'll be staying in a location at the end of May through home exchange. And I've also joined People Like Us as a way to get to know other families. The family from France brought us this amazing wine, and they were so happy to stay, and they really enjoyed Sevilla. Just made me feel good that knowing we're not there right now, someone else is enjoying the house and the location. I just think more good karma out there in the world is a good thing. What you put out there, good vibes can come back and just make for cool experiences, and knowing the world is a smaller place than we always feel like it is. It's not as scary of a place as sometimes it can feel, so that's been kind of a win. It's just non-traditional ways, outside of the Airbnb world or hotel world, just finding ways to stay and travel.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I kind of wish I would have done that, because we are in my Airbnb right now. It's very small, but it's very cute. I like it. Yeah, it's super cute. Comfortable. But I do sometimes wish I knew more about the different ways of, finding homes to stay in and things like that. And so you said that this is called Trusted House Sitters. So is that what you're using to do that in Sevilla as well, or is that a different?
We did home exchange was the guest points, and you could do a reciprocal, I go to your home while you come to my home, but there's also a way to exchange points and receive points if someone stays, and then spend them to stay at someone else's house or their second home or whatnot. It seems like a really good way to get around Europe. And then the People Like Us is just more of an actual reciprocal, either simultaneous or non-simultaneous home exchange. And so those do somewhat require someone to have a place to offer. But like I said, we're actually renting in Sevilla, and I just asked my landlord, can I have some friends stay at our house while we're gone in April? Friends. And I would not feel as comfortable taking money from someone since I'm renting it. But I was this really is, it's there's no money exchange. We're just offering this, and there's a built-in level of trust, because their home is on the website. They are offering their home up too, and there's reviews and stuff. And we did a WhatsApp call, so we were able to see each other. So, but if someone doesn't have a home or is not able to home swap, Kindred is another one. There's quite a few. But if someone doesn't have a home to swap, then Trusted House Sitters does involve often pet sitting, which means there could be a little bit more to it in terms of things you have to do while you're at this person's house. Yeah. But we pet sit cats that were they had automatic food delivery. It was the easiest thing. We're just hanging out while they hung out. And so I can see how that does work. I've met a lot of people here who've done a bit of that. So those are just fun ways to do that. And then there's co-living in different places like that. So it's a way to, and then also getting off the kind of out of major tourist areas. You go somewhere that maybe is second or third tier city in that country. It's not always on the main tourist track or whatnot. And of course the main areas are awesome because there is awesome stuff to do there. But some of those hidden, more hidden gems can be really great. And we've met people that are really happy to welcome you to their hotel or Airbnb or apartment then, because they're just don't get maybe as many visitors. So it's been fun to think of different ways. The Servas is something I really want to also actually reconnect with, because I was thinking about it for this. I want to do that where we can basically host and do different exchanges like that. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that sounds like also a great way to just meet new people who may become friends or something. Mm-hmm. Our Airbnb hostess, we've only talked through the app. I'd never met her. We let ourselves in. There was a lockbox, so there was none of that. But it feels like some of these other ones create more of a potential global community, which I love that aspect. I also want to mention, just for people who might be watching who are I don't really want to travel because language, I don't know any of the languages. I'm in Spain right now. We're in a very small part of Spain, Santiago de Compostela. I do not speak Spanish, at all. I know a little bit. And there's not that many people who here, the locals, who speak Spanish. We actually, Chris and I...
Or English.
Sorry, English. Yeah. There's not... Oh my God. Jet lag. Yes, jet lag just came out. Who don't speak English.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we just went to dinner, and the waitress, we were do you know English? And she was like, no English, nada, is basically what she said. And I was like, lo siento, mi español nada. I mean, that's how bad it was. Like, I sound terrible. And the couple next to us were from Spain and South America, and they were like, we'll translate for you.
Oh, that's so awesome.
They didn't even
So
know
helpful.
us. I know. And I was like, they didn't see us as like the ugly Americans or whatever. And so it was really nice. And they did that for us, and it was great. And also just the servers were just really nice. They actually just felt bad about not being able to speak in English. And then I felt bad. And then I did break out a little bit of Spanish at the little market that we just went to, because we like to have a little bit of food. That's actually why I do Airbnbs, because I like to have a little kitchen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish more like hotels would realize how important that
Yes.
is. Like, we need a little bit of space for some food and some groceries, and to feel a little more like at home. And so, yeah.
I don't want to have to rely on eating out all the time, because
Absolutely.
I can't handle it. But yeah, and we couldn't figure out where the milk was, because it's not in there for here. They have their milk is different, right? It's on a dry shelf, because I don't know, the way they pack it is different. It's not in the fridge. And so I could not figure out where it is. And so I just went up to the guy and I was like, ¿Dónde está la leche? And he was so nice. He was like, yeah, follow me. And he was like, la leche. And I was like, thank you. So it was fun. But
that's awesome.
yeah.
I think like putting some effort in can go a long way. Hand gestures is like a way to fill in some of the gaps. And then, with modern technology and Google Translate and other translate apps, like it definitely is not as much of a barrier. I will say, like, being in Morocco, where it's like French and Arabic, and like I know zero of either of those languages, I did have to make sure I had them downloaded offline and use the resources, and it'll make for a fun experience if there's any hiccups on the communication journey. When I first got to Spain, someone was like, parent they've been very welcoming. The WhatsApp chats, someone said they were going to like basically the ballpark to play with the kids, and my translate took it to like baseball park. And I was like, okay, so the kids are gonna play baseball. And she's like, where did you get that? She meant, those ball pits where kids jump in a bunch of hundreds of colorful balls that are like they're germ pits, but that's what she meant by ballpark, not like a baseball park. And I was like, talking about baseball. So I mean, it is okay to have some lost in translation moments.
It's actually fun, because we were reading a menu, and one said like the item was some sort of shrimp dish, and it said shrimp in a coat. And I was like, I don't think it means a coat. I think it must mean something else, because that's what. So yeah, it's fun.
That's funny. I just had this visual of this like shrimp with this like nice jacket walking around.
I know.
with a bow tie, maybe.
Yeah, it makes for some fun little visuals. Yeah, I just thought that was because we were holding our Google Translate, like it has the camera where you can look at the menu, and we were like, shrimp in a coat. What is that? Okay, but yeah, for sure. So we're coming towards the end of our time. I think the mic are still, I think they're still working, so that's good. And I know you want to go do the case studies that are happening at CampFI. So one last question to leave the audience with: a life hack recommendation or a learning that we haven't talked about quite yet.
Oh, yes. Good. So some of the breakout sessions here have been around life hacks and around like doing epic stuff in our life. I would say I've touched on a few. I would say utilizing resources like awesome websites for travel hacking, and tapping in with kind of what technologies are available. ChatGPT can put together a pretty cool itinerary, but I'm not like, I still like to go and find like a local travel blogger or something to kind of give me more nuance to it. But I would say at the end of the day, the life hack I found is just building community around your interests. And so CampFI is definitely that for us. And then the World School pop-ups hubs I've talked about. I hosted and co-hosted in Sevilla and Cordoba in March. And I'm hosting one in Berlin this summer in July. And we already have 7 or 8 families signed up. And it gives me a chance to put together an awesome 7-day itinerary in Berlin. We're going to have other families join us and get to explore an awesome city together. And I think it's just going to make a city that's full of like history and so many things to do, but just enrich it with other people to share that experience with. So my kids are honestly like more engaged if there's other kids also paying attention at the museum, or there's like now a scavenger hunt that they can do together. And so they walk away with more. I get to learn from this community and we get to do it in a cool location. So yeah, I'll share some of that information if anyone's going to Berlin in July with a family and wants to join us. It's like the 12th to the 18th. But that community has been that like the hack to get through the ups and the downs.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great hack. Yeah, love community here. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching us.
Thank you. This has been so fun to like meet in person and make this work and do this while we're sitting in Spain. Yeah. I mean, it would have been really fun if we were like at a cafe with a Machado.
It would have been so noisy.
It would have been very loud.
So noisy.
I know.
It's hectic out there. And I was like, man, maybe I should have had a bottle of wine or something here. I did not think this through. So just imagine that this is wine and we're drinking wine.
You'll have plenty. It's like bottles on the table for lunch and dinner.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll get plenty once you kick off your week too on Sunday.
So like maybe I should give my liver a break for a few days.
And it's really good. It says it's like bottled for the hotel that we're all staying at. But I don't know. And it tastes like really fresh. It's been very good.
Anybody who hasn't been to like France or Spain, if you just go to one of the basically a bodega equivalent or the corner market equivalent and you get like a €2 wine bottle of wine, it's like the best wine you've ever had, especially in France, in Paris. Holy crap. Like it's so good. I don't know how they do it.
And this is like more expensive than the wine.
The water. I know. The water, because they give you water in bottles. They don't really do tap water here. And it's not that the tap water is not good. They just don't.
Yeah, I usually do, but I lost it. So it's fine. But a lot of people bottle tastes great, but it's more expensive than wine.
Because I had several glasses of wine yesterday, and I think they were the same price, the water and the wine. And so it's just drink wine. You don't need water. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
Suzy.
so much. This is super fun.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for watching and listening.
Thanks for listening to the EverydayFI podcast. If you're loving this show, here are some things you can do. Number 1, subscribe in your favorite podcast player and share the show with your friends and family. You can also find us on YouTube now. Some of the videos actually have our faces. Number 2, please leave a review. I am always looking for ways to improve the show. Number 3, check out my website, EverydayFI.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and leave comments for myself and the guest. Number 4, if you're interested in sharing your own financial independence story and connecting with other community members, you can find a submission form at EverydayFI.com/podcast. And lastly, number 5, join my Patreon membership for only $5 a month at patreon.com/EverydayFI podcast. This is a one-woman show, so every little bit of support really helps. See you next time as we continue to go down the path to financial freedom.